As you probably know, the Smiler at Alton Towers holds the world record for most inversions on a roller coaster, at a whopping 14. Having held this record for 10 years, and with no sign of it being broken in the near future, the Smiler is a must for thrill seekers. But how good is it really? Well, in this video, I will give my full review of this world-class roller coaster. But before I get into it, if you enjoyed this review, make sure to like the video, and if you want to see more reviews like this in the future, press the subscribe button. Thanks. The Smiler. Where do I begin? Located in X sector near the front of the park, this coaster really dominates the area. I'm sorry Oblivion, you're cool too. However, the thing that makes this coaster stand out when you look at it isn't its height or size. It's just the huge confusion of track and supports, like staring at a nice bowl of spaghetti bolognese on a Monday night. It's very disorientating and certainly fits the theme, as does the soundtrack. Now, I know this might be a bit controversial, but I'm actually a fan of the Smiler's theme song, even though it is just on repeat. I think it's unsettling and is perfect for the Smiler's strange theme. Which brings me nicely onto the next section of this review, the theming. Now, Alton Towers is pretty well known for well-themed attractions like Wicker Man and Rita. The second one was a joke, don't kill me. And the Smiler is pretty well themed. It's got the large theming structure, the Marmalizer, in the centre of the ride's footprint, which is cool. But on the outside, there is very minimal theming. I kind of wish they hadn't just plonked the ride on a big concrete slab in the ground with a metal spider and left it at that. I know some people don't like the weirdness of the Smiler's theme, but I think it's cool. But I'm just saying that looking at the Smiler, there could have been a few more details around its layout. But of course, the Smiler was very expensive, and Alton Towers might not have had the budget to make it insanely well themed. Actually, the amount they did do is quite impressive considering the scale of the coaster itself. The entrance to the coaster is pretty low key. It's just the sign with the logo and 14 cameras to represent the 14 inversions. Then you go into the queue, which is a huge cattle pen, but it's fine because the whole time you're walking through the ride area of the Smiler and get some insane views of it passing over your head and around you. Honestly, it looks incredible, and if you're an enthusiast like me, you might want to sneak in some cheeky off-ride shots through the fences. I'd quickly like to point out that unlike other rides at Towers, the Smiler features a single rider queue, so if you don't mind splitting up with your party and riding with strangers, this is a must for reducing wait times. Then you come into the indoor section of the queue line, which is filled with projections and screens displaying weird optical illusions. If they're working, that is. Then you enter the station, which is interesting. It is very bare, with white walls and minimal theming. It looks like a hospital, which fits the theme, I guess. The operator's cabin overlooks the station, and bright white lights shine down at the trains. And for whatever reason, when you exit, you do it via rainbow stairs. Why? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the station is very weird. Now let's move on to the ride experience. Like other Gerstlauer Infinity coasters, you sit in 4 rows of 4, meaning the trains can hold 16 riders overall, which isn't the greatest for throughput, but at least it runs a lot of trains. This coaster does feature over-the-shoulder restraints, as expected, but I wouldn't say it hinders the ride experience very much. Once you're seated, you go through a really cool dispatch. The lights flicker on, smoke begins pouring into the station, and an ominous voice says, Then the train rolls down into the darkness. This is really satisfying to watch, and is also cool when you're on the ride itself. The train then enters a heartline roll in the darkness, which, if you're not expecting it, comes out of absolutely nowhere. This is one of the best parts of the ride and is a fantastic hidden introduction. You then come into the lift hill, where you get some nice views of the towers themselves. The following drop brings you into the second of 14 inversions. Now, I'm not going to go through each element individually as I did in my Mandrill Mayhem review, otherwise the video would be way too long and way too boring. It would literally just be me saying, then you go into another inversion. It's cool. And guess what? You go into another inversion. Yeah, I don't want to make that video. But here is the list of what inversions you will find on the Smiler. 1 heartline roll, 5 corkscrews, 2 dive loops, a sidewinder, a reverse sidewinder, a sea serpent and a cobra roll. Yeah, it's a lot. As you could expect, the ride does get a little repetitive, but it keeps good pacing throughout, and the second lift hill does give the coaster a bit more welcome variety. The vertical lift is very fun and unique, I guess, if you ignore every other coaster that has a vertical lift. I'd like to pause here to talk about the presentation of the ride. As of 2023, the Smiler could do with some TLC, as its track is faded and the brake run before the second lift is frankly appalling. It's covered in weeds and filth, and what's really annoying is that all it needs is a wash. Anyway, that's enough getting angry at Alton Towers for one day. The second half is a bit more rough than the smoother first half, but it's mostly on those 2 final corkscrews, and even that isn't that bad. However, in an inversion-packed experience, those airtime hills really make a difference. I'm talking send you to the moon ejector, so obviously I couldn't leave them out of this review. After the ride ends, you exit up those rainbow stairs, try not to walk into the ride support, and come into the gift shop. Overall, the Smiler is a fun, adrenaline-packed and intense experience that appeals to enthusiasts and the GP. Its long, packed layout means it has no dead spots and is just a constant stream of upside-down moments that aren't for the faint of heart. If you think it's too boring, then everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but I respectfully disagree. It may be a tad repetitive, but that doesn't make it boring. And I think that the crew who designed the Smiler were creative and clever, especially to keep it under the tree line and in Blackpool's tiny footprint. This coaster rightfully holds the world record, and I don't think it will be losing it anytime soon. Goodbye!